In this video, we're going to be doing the difference quotient. What usually turns out to be one of the most challenging parts of a college algebra course, but honestly one of the most important. This is literally the beginning of calculus. This is what you need to know in calculus. So it is pretty important. So first off, recall the formula for average rate of change, which I just did a video on. Remember, average rate of change is change in y over change in x over some interval from a to b, f of b minus f of a over b minus a. So in a picture, that looks like this. We have some function. The average rate of change from a to b is just the change in y, f of b minus f of a, over the change in x, b minus a. Okay, this is all we're doing for difference quotient, is average rate of change. We're just going to change up our variables a little bit. We're going to call this point A x. We're going to call this distance, this change in x, that b minus a, we're going to give that a new name and call it h. So if this is the point x, and I go up h, b would now be x plus the change in x, h. So we're going from x up to x plus h. So then my new y values would be f of x and f of a, x plus h. So the same formula we had before for average rate of change, f of b minus f of a over b minus a could be rewritten f of x plus h minus f of x, change in y, over change in x, which we've now decided to call h. Just simplifies our notation a little bit. Okay, so we get this formula. Call it the difference quotient. The difference quotient is f of x plus h minus f of x over h. It really is change in y over change in x. It's an average rate of change over this change in x, h. Then when you get to calculus, you do this thing where you take the limit as h goes to 0, and you get an instantaneous rate of change. The slope of a tangent line instead of a secant. Okay, an example. We have this function. F of x is x squared minus 3x plus 5. We want to calculate or find this difference quotient, f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Okay, so we're going to write out this whole fraction. That has three pieces. This is the hard part, right here. F of x plus h. So let's look at that independently. We'll worry about this whole fraction in a minute. For right now, I just want to worry about f of x plus h. What this means, rewrite your whole function, but now instead of writing x here and here, I'm going to write x plus h. So that would be minus 3x plus h plus 5. So f of x plus h is x plus h squared, in parentheses, minus 3x plus h plus 5. Okay, now we have to simplify this. So that's going to take a little bit of work. First off, right here, x plus h squared is not x squared plus h squared. You can't distribute a square over addition or subtraction. We have to FOIL that out. So x plus h squared means x plus h times x plus h, which is x squared plus xh for the outers, plus another xh for the inners, finally plus h squared, which We got a couple of like terms here. That's x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Okay, that's this one little piece of this one part. We're nowhere near done. Okay, so f of x plus h will be this. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Then we have to distribute this minus 3, minus 3x, minus 3h, plus 5. That is the first part of this fraction I want to write out. That's f of x plus h. So, continuing, we want f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. That has three pieces to it. This first part, f of x plus h. That's what we just worked out. That's right here. So let's write all that down. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 3x minus 3h plus 5. Minus. Now we want this part, f of x. So f of x plus h, all of this. That says f of x plus h is all of this stuff. From that, I want to subtract the original, f of x, which is right here. So x squared minus 3x plus 5. All of that is f of x. And this all goes over h. F of x plus h, that we had to do some simplifying on, minus f of x. I have to put that in parentheses because I'm going to have to distribute this minus all over h. Okay, now we just simplify. From this point on, it's just simplification. Equals. Okay, let's distribute this minus. Just recopying all these first parts down. So I'm going to distribute this minus here. So we'll get a minus x squared plus 3x minus 5. Don't forget this is all over h. Okay, now let's see if anything pretty happens. Oh, wait, look, that x squared cancels out the negative x squared. The negative 3x cancels the positive 3x. Here, 3x. The 5 cancels the negative 5. Everything after this minus canceled out. That will happen every time if your function is a polynomial. Let's write down what's left. We have a 2xh plus h squared minus 3h all over h. Now the question is, can we cancel these h's? No, we cannot. Up on top we have a bunch of terms. We can only cancel factors, not terms. If I want to make this h in the bottom cancel out, I need to factor that common factor of h out of the top, which will always happen. At this point, you always get a common factor of h. And that's always your next step. Factor out that common factor. So, each term had an h. I factored out that common factor of h on top. Now I can cancel the h's. You have to factor the h first, then cancel. And my final answer is 2x plus h minus 3. Your final answer is going to have numbers and x's and h's in it. It's a formula, not a number we're trying to come up with. When you get to calculus, you'll see that what you've calculated is the first step in what's called taking the derivative. But that's calculus. We're not ready for that yet. Okay, let's do another example. Okay, so we have this function, f of x equals 3x squared minus 6x minus 2. I want to find the difference quotient, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Okay, I like to do a little side work first because the hardest part is finding f of x plus h. Remember, that means rewrite the function. But now instead of writing an x here and here, we'll replace the x with an x plus h in parentheses. So I will have 3 x plus h squared plus 6 parentheses x plus h minus 2. That's f of x plus h. Now I have to do all my cleaning up, do some simplifying. So let's worry about this x plus h squared. So we'll have 3 times x plus h times x plus h. Don't distribute the 3. Order of operations. You have to square the x plus h first. Then we'll distribute the 3. We can go ahead and distribute the 6 now, though. So we'll get a plus 6x plus 6h minus 2. Okay, so here in the brackets, let's FOIL out x plus h times x plus h. We'll get an x squared plus an xh plus another xh plus h squared. So x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. That's what we get every time for x plus h squared. That's still, of course, being multiplied by a 3. And then we have the plus 6x, the plus 6h minus 2. Okay, so let's distribute the 3. We get 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared plus 6x plus 6h minus 2. That is not our final answer. That is one part of this fraction. That is f of x plus h. There are 3 pieces we need. F of x plus h, the original f of x, and h. All we have here is the first part. Okay, so for the whole thing, we want f of x plus h minus the original f of x all over h. That will be, all of this up here was f of x plus h. That's this part right here. So let's write that down. 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared plus 6x plus 6h minus 2. Minus f of x. So let's put our minus in parentheses. What was f of x? That's the original function, 3x squared plus 6x minus 2. All over h. Okay, so all of this right here at the beginning is f of x plus h. That's all of this minus f of x all over h. The next step, every single time, distribute this negative. Everything at the beginning is going to stay the same. I think the easiest way to distribute this negative is just change this negative to a plus and change all these signs. So we'll get plus negative 3x minus 6, or negative 3x squared minus 6x plus 2. Okay, let's write everything down. 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared plus 6x plus 6h minus 2 minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 2 all over h. We're going to be over h until the very last step. The very last thing we do is cancel out that. Everything that was over here in parentheses, all of the original f of x should cancel out every single time. So let's check. Negative 3x squared, positive 3x squared. Cancel. Negative 6x, a positive 6x. Cancel. A negative 2, a positive 2. Cancel. If one of these doesn't cancel out, you've done something wrong. Everything that's left should have an h in it. Let's write down everything that's left. 6xh plus 3h squared plus 6h all over h. It's everything that's left over, and they all have an h. That will happen every single time. Everybody has an h. Next step, every single time, factor out that common factor of an h. You can't cancel here. You can't cancel here. You can't cancel here. You can only cancel factors, not terms. So we have to factor the top. Pull out the common factor of h. So we can see here, if we redistribute this h, I would get 6xh plus 3h squared plus 6h. I factored correctly. Next, cancel the h's. That's when you can cancel the h's. And our final answer is 6x plus 3h plus 6. Our answer will have x's and h's and numbers. Okay, that's difference quotient. It takes a lot of practice. So go right now, go find some problems and practice.